The first thing you notice about the Hemlock Tower Hotel isn't the height, the age, or the glassy corporate smile it wears like a forced hospitality mask. It's the silence. The kind of silence expensive hotels shouldn't have. No luggage wheels, no chatter, no background jazz, no lobby hum. Just silence, as if the building is trying to hear you breathe. That should have been my first warning. My name is Marcus Hale. 34. Freelance tech analyst. Professional complainer. And fired from my previous job for not being aligned with corporate values, which I translated to, I noticed too much. The Hemlock Tower, 15 floors of chrome, glass, and corporate ego, was hosting an industry summit that promised career reset opportunities. That phrase meant nothing, but the free room voucher was enough to get me on a plane. I arrived Thursday evening, suitcase in hand, brain running on caffeine and the last strings of optimism. The automatic doors opened without a sound. The silence thickened. The lobby looked like a catalog photo, perfect lighting, perfect chairs, perfect symmetry. A grand chandelier hung like a frozen firework. A faint citrus scent drifted through the air, carefully measured. The concierge stood behind the marble desk, motionless until I stepped forward. "Welcome to Hemlock Tower Hotel," she said with a plastic-perfect smile. "Checking in?" "Yes," I said. "Name's Hale." "Marcus." She typed. And typed. And typed. Her smile never moved. "Finally, we have you in room 514 for 3 nights. 5th floor. Cool." She slid over a keycard. Her eyes didn't blink. "Mr. Hale," she said softly, "if your elevator pauses, do not step out unless you see other guests." I lifted an eyebrow. "Pauses?" "Yes." Deep inhale. "It occasionally stops on a floor that does not exist." I waited for her to say she was joking. She didn't. Her smile froze a little wider, as if it were glued in place. "Have a pleasant stay." The elevator dinged behind me. I dragged my suitcase toward it with a forced laugh, because what else do you do when someone tells you elevators occasionally stop on imaginary floors? The doors closed. Soft jazz started playing. I pressed 5. The elevator hummed and climbed. 4. 5. The doors opened. But not to my floor. The hallway beyond was dark except for intermittent flickers of light. The carpet runner was patterned in maroon and gold, but the colors looked washed out, as if the dyes had been bled dry. A sign overhead glowed weakly. 4th floor. I stared. The hotel brochure and maps clearly stated, NO 4th floor. The elevator panel had no number 4. I leaned forward, squinting. Another flicker. A shadow moved across the hallway. I stepped back quickly. "Okay. Wrong floor," I muttered, smacking the closed door button like a desperate rodent. The elevator obeyed immediately. When it opened again, I was on the real 5th floor, bright lights, fresh carpet, normal sounds. I forced myself to shake off the experience. I told myself I was tired. Hallucinating. Mixing up floors. Whatever helped. My room, 514, looked as generic as expected. Beige. Chrome accents. A pointless half-couch no one uses. A minibar fridge humming with the energy of regret. I opened the curtains. Nighttime Chicago skyline. Beautiful. Alive. Normal. The only odd thing was the placement of the other tower, Hemlock's twin building across the courtyard. One window on the other tower's fourth floor was lit. But there was no fourth floor. I shut the curtains hard. The first hint of something wrong. I unpacked, showered, ordered room service, and sat down with the summit schedule. Networking sessions, keynotes, workshops, everything corporate beige. At 11:02 p.m., the hotel phone rang. An old landline. Cream-colored. Probably decorative. I frowned. Who calls a guest room at 11 p.m.? I answered. Hello? Static. Then a male voice, low, tired, slightly panicked. Don't come to 404. I froze. Who is this? Static swallowed his answer. Then. You're already on the list. Don't let them. Click. The phone went dead. I sat completely still. There is no fourth floor, no room 404, so why did someone warn me about it? My heartbeat thudded in my ears. I checked the peephole. Nothing outside. I locked the door. Then double-locked it. The night cleaner. At midnight, I heard the sound. A vacuum. A vacuum cleaner, rolling across carpet, bumping into walls, adjusting direction. Right outside my room. But the hall was fully carpeted and quiet earlier. And no one vacuumed at midnight. I went to the peephole. The hallway was empty. The vacuum noise continued. My pulse tightened. Then, tap, tap, tap. Someone knocked. I didn't open it. A voice drifted through the door, female, shaky, quiet. Housekeeping. Just need to clean 404. My throat closed. There is number 404, I said. Silence. Then she whispered. Exactly. Footsteps padded away. My skin prickled from spine to fingertips. I got dressed, grabbed my laptop bag, and marched toward the elevator. I didn't care what time it was, I wanted answers. When I reached the elevator, it opened instantly. As if waiting for me. Inside stood a woman in a gray housekeeping uniform. The same voice I'd heard outside my door. Her eyes were red from crying. She whispered, "You shouldn't be here. What is happening in this hotel?" I asked. Her hands shook so badly she dropped her key ring. Metal clattered against the elevator floor. "I clean all 15 floors," she whispered. "But every night, I must go to the 16th. There is no 16. Not officially." I stared at her. She leaned in, breath trembling. "That man who called you? He was the last occupant of 404. The room takes the version of you the hotel thinks should die." My skin went cold. "The version of me?" She nodded. "Your fear self. Your failure self. The identity you hide from people, the hotel makes a room for it. And once you see it, it replaces you." My heart hammered. This is insane. She stepped back. "I'm not coming tonight," she whispered. I refused. "I'm tired of cleaning copies of people." "What do you mean copies?" The elevator lights flickered. She stiffened. "They're coming." "Who?" "The attendants. The ones who staff the floors that don't exist." The elevator shook. Then plummeted. I grabbed the railing, shouting. The housekeeper screamed. Lights strobed violently. The panel numbers raced down. 8, 6, 5, 3, 2, B. Then, the elevator slammed to a stop. Dust rained from the ceiling tiles. The doors creaked open. I was staring into darkness. A hallway with dead bulbs, old wallpaper, damp carpeting, a sign hanging crookedly above the exit door. 404. It shouldn't exist. It did. The housekeeper sobbed. I can't go in again. I can't. Stay behind me, I said. Because my stupid curiosity overtook survival instinct. Because something inside me, a journalist's habit, a tech analyst's need to understand, pushed me forward. Because every instinct screamed don't, and I've never listened well. I stepped out. The housekeeper stayed inside, trembling. The elevator doors tried to close. But a hand, a pale one, reached in and stopped them. Not her hand. It belonged to someone standing inside the dark hallway. A voice whispered, "Welcome back, Marcus." My blood froze. I turned. A figure stood at the far end of the hallway, barely illuminated by a flickering bulb. It was me. Same clothes. Same face. Same posture. Except, the eyes were wrong. Completely black. White. Hungry. My duplicate smiled. "You shouldn't have come," it whispered. "I've been waiting for you to arrive." The figure at the far end of the hallway, the man wearing my face, took one slow step forward. Not threatening. Not rushing. Just approaching, the way a reflection would approach if a mirror suddenly learned to walk. My first instinct wasn't fear. It was denial. "No," I whispered. "No, this isn't real." But the duplicate smiled, and that smile, too wide, too controlled, snapped something deep inside me. He spoke again. "You arrived a little early this time. Who the hell are you?" I managed. He tilted his head. "I'm the version of you the hotel remembers." The housekeeper whimpered behind me inside the elevator. I stepped backward. "Get back inside." Hit the door close button. "I'm trying," she sobbed, "but it won't move." The duplicate chuckled softly. "There's no elevator service on this floor unless the room wants it." "The room?" I echoed. He nodded, expression sharpening. "You're standing in its hallway now." The lights flickered above us. Old wallpaper peeled in strips like wounds. A faint smell of mildew mixed with something sweeter. Like decaying flowers. Room 404 loomed behind the duplicate, its door slightly ajar, breathing cold air into the hall. The housekeeper finally found her voice again. "Mr. Hale," she whispered urgently. "Don't talk to it. Don't acknowledge it. Just." Too late. The duplicate stopped walking. His voice softened. "You shouldn't have come back, Marcus. This time, the room wants more than a simple exchange." "What exchange?" I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he lifted his hand, and light warped around his fingers like pulled taffy. His skin shimmered briefly, transforming into a blurred static of features, my face dissolving, rebuilding, dissolving again. Then, suddenly, like a flicker of memory, a different version of me appeared. My college self. Younger. Cleaner. More hopeful than I remembered ever being. It stepped out of him, like a shadow peeling off its owner. The younger Marcus looked at me with disappointment. "You never finished the life you promised," he said quietly. "So I stayed here." "What? No, that's not." The older duplicate smiled wider. "The hotel saves every version you abandon." My pulse hammered. Behind me, the housekeeper whispered, "Close your eyes. Don't look at him when he splits." I didn't listen. The splitting. The duplicate inhaled deeply. The lights crackled. And suddenly, like a projector showing footage across his skin, dozens of versions of me rippled across his body. Marcus aged 12, holding a baseball glove. Marcus aged 18 on graduation day. Marcus aged 24 crying in an empty apartment. Marcus aged 33, the day I lost my job. Marcus aged 40, older than I am now, looking defeated. They all flickered, one after another, projected from him like emotional ghosts. Then the images solidified and stepped out, one by one, until the hallway was filled with them. 12 duplicates of me, each wearing a different moment of my own life like a uniform. The housekeeper dropped to her knees and sobbed. "Stop. Please stop. Not tonight, please." The oldest-looking version of me stepped forward. His voice shook the air. "You brought him here," he told her. "The room wasn't ready last cycle. But now it is." "I didn't bring him," she cried. "I tried to warn him." They ignored her. The oldest version turned to face me. "You were supposed to die here last time." My throat tightened. "What are you talking about?" He pointed at room 404. And every duplicate pointed with him. "That room has been waiting for you, Marcus." The housekeeper grabbed my arm. "We have to run," she whispered. "Now." "Back to the elevator." "No," she hissed. "The elevator won't take us anywhere except deeper if we try it now." "So where?" "The stairwell," she said. "The emergency one." But what?" She looked at me with broken eyes. "The stairwell shifts. The chase." We bolted down the hallway, me almost dragging her because her hands shook so violently she couldn't keep a steady pace. The emergency exit sign flickered above the stairwell door. Behind us. Footsteps. 12 sets of them. All in sync. Slow. Patient. Not rushing. Not needing to. As if they knew the building already favored them. The housekeeper pushed open the stairwell door. It groaned like something waking up. We ran down the first flight. The second. On the third, I stopped. "What floor are we going to?" "Any floor but this." "But which way?" "Up? Down?" "Down," she cried. "But don't count the floors. Don't look at any numbers." "Why not?" "Because the numbers lie." I didn't have time to process that. A scream echoed above us. One of the duplicates had reached the top of the stairwell. The housekeeper gasped, "Run!" We sprinted downward. My lungs burned. My legs screamed. My mind raced. The stairwell felt wrong, like the air was thicker, the steps steeper, gravity inconsistent. Sometimes the stairs widened. Sometimes they narrowed sharply. Every third flight felt like a repeat of the previous one. A Mobius strip disguised as architecture. The housekeeper kept her eyes shut as she ran. "Don't look," she said. "If you see the numbers, you'll believe them. That's how it traps you." We hit the next landing. A metal sign hung over the next door. 404, emergency access. My blood froze. We're back where we started, I whispered. No, 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 she whimpered. We ran down. That's impossible. Footsteps approached above us. We turned. The duplicates were visible now, 12 silhouettes descending the stairs in a perfect line, their footsteps echoing in mechanical unison. The oldest one spoke. You cannot leave the floor unless we allow it. The housekeeper collapsed to her knees. I can't do this again, she cried. I can't clean another version of him, please, please, let him go. The younger version of me, the graduation one, leaned over the railing, smiling. Don't beg for him. He belongs here. The door that opened on its own. The 404 emergency access door creaked. Slowly. Voluntarily. As if it were breathing. Cold air flowed from inside. The kind of cold that doesn't belong in HVAC systems, old cold, basement cold, grave cold. The housekeeper whimpered. No. No. Please. A faint whisper drifted out. My own voice. Marcus, come in. I'm not going in there, I hissed. The housekeeper clutched my arm again. We don't go in, she whispered. We go through. What does that mean? Her face twisted with desperation. That door connects different moments in this hotel. If we choose the right moment, we can escape. And if we choose the wrong one? She swallowed hard. We become part of the room. Behind us, footsteps accelerated. The duplicates were getting impatient. The oldest version raised a hand. He cannot leave, he said, voice reverberating unnaturally. The room has chosen him again. I pulled the housekeeper up. Fine, I said. We go. She gasped, terrified. But we don't know what moment it's showing. Better than staying here. We stepped through the door. Darkness swallowed us. The door slammed shut. The lobby that wasn't the lobby. Light blinked on. We were standing in the lobby. But not the lobby I came through earlier. This one was older. Decorated in 1970s browns and oranges. Long reception desks. Rotary phones. A chandelier coated in dust. Plastic plants drooping. Ashtrays full. What is this? I whispered. The past, the housekeeper said softly. The hotel's past? No, she said. The past versions of the hotel. Footsteps echoed. A crowd of guests walked through the lobby wearing outdated clothing. A receptionist typed into a big ledger book. None of them looked at us. None of them blinked. They moved like sleepwalkers acting out a memory. The housekeeper pulled me aside. They don't see us. We transferred into a stored moment. Stored? Like a backup file, she whispered. The hotel keeps versions of itself, and versions of guests. It tries to rebuild people. And the duplicates? They're compiled versions. The ones the room finished. My stomach twisted. A bellhop passed by, face blank. I recognized him. He was on a missing persons poster I'd once seen online. This is why people vanish here, I whispered. The housekeeper nodded. The hotel doesn't kill them. It recreates them. The originals disappear somewhere else. Where? She pointed at a corridor with a dim red exit sign. Service level, Personnel only. Her voice shook. That's where the real ones go. The ones the hotel can't use. How do we get out of here? We find an exit moment, she said. A time where the hotel is vulnerable. And if we fail? She met my eyes. Then room 404 finishes writing you. A voice echoed behind us. Calm. Familiar. Marcus. We turned. My oldest duplicate stood in the 1970s lobby. Even though he shouldn't exist in this moment. He smiled. You can run through all the versions. Through all the floors. Through all the years. But the room waits. He lifted his hand. And every guest in the lobby stopped walking. Turned. Faced me. Their eyes hollow. Their mouths open. And they whispered together. Room 404 is occupied. The housekeeper grabbed my arm. We have to go, now. We ran toward the service corridor. The crowd of frozen guests all turned their heads as we passed. Tracking me. Staring. Whispering. Breathing someone else's breath. At the end of the corridor was a rusted metal door. I shoved it open. We stumbled into darkness again. The door slammed. And this time, there were no lights when the world came back. Just a dim red glow. A humming sound. And a sign overhead. Service Sub-Level 3, Unassigned Identities. The housekeeper's voice cracked. No, we're too deep. What does this floor do? I asked, terrified. Her answer was a whisper. It holds the people the hotel couldn't finish. A soft cry echoed from somewhere in the dark. Then another. And another. Voices. Whispers. Half-shaped words. My skin crawled. Hands, weak, thin, cold, pressed against a metal grate nearby. Fingers reaching through, trembling. A voice croaked weakly. Marcus, help me. I stepped back. No. No. That's not my voice. That's not. The housekeeper clutched my sleeve. That's not you, she said. That's the version of you the hotel abandoned last cycle. I froze, heart pounding. My previous self? She nodded slowly. The room tried to build you. It failed. So it recycled you. The whispering grew louder. More hands appeared through the grate. More versions of me. Dozens of them. All broken. All unfinished. All staring at me with hollow eyes. The housekeeper sobbed. This is why I tried to warn you. And then, from behind us, a door opened. Room 404. Impossible. Unsupported. Floating in the dark. My oldest duplicate's voice echoed. It's time to finish your story, Marcus. The floating door to room 404 waited in the center of the dark service sublevel, glowing faintly like a memory refusing to fade. No frame. No hinges. Just a door suspended in black air, breathing cold around its edges. The abandoned versions of me, those trembling half-finished identities behind the grate, fell silent when the door appeared. Silent, as if they were afraid. The housekeeper clutched my sleeve. Don't go. Please, Marcus, listen to me. Once you enter that room, it will start rewriting you again. And this time there won't be anything left to salvage. I can't run forever, I whispered. My voice didn't sound like mine. More like someone rehearsing a line they didn't believe. Running is survival here, she said. Enter room 404, and you become part of its architecture. My throat dried. Part of the hotel? She nodded, eyes glistening. That's what happened to the attendants. As if summoned by the word, a cold draft swept across us, sharp as a knife, carrying the faint scent of paper ash and ozone. The housekeeper stiffened. They're coming. The attendants appear. 3 silhouettes emerged from the dark corridor behind us. They did not walk. They glided, their feet hovering just above the floor, leaving faint smears of light like residue. Their uniforms were old, 1950s bellhop suits, faded maroon with brass buttons. But their faces were blank. Smooth. Like skin stretched over a mannequin head. One of them held a clipboard. Another held a ring of old brass keys. The third held nothing, just stared at me with a smooth, featureless front. The clipboard attendant raised its arm. A glowing text appeared on the board as if written by invisible chalk. Unfinished occupant located. Retrieve, Marcus Hale. Delivered to room 404. The housekeeper gasped. No, they've marked you. I stepped back. The attendants began floating toward us, moving with the precision of a scripted event. The housekeeper grabbed my arm. We run. Now. She dragged me into the shadows between industrial heaters and old HVAC pipes. The attendants moved silently. No footsteps. Only the faint hum of a dead radio broadcast. The sub-level shifts. We ran through the service level, turning corners that twisted more sharply than architecture should allow. The metal gratings beneath us vibrated with echoes of unseen machinery. As we rounded another corner, the housekeeper skidded to a halt so suddenly I nearly slammed into her. The hallway had changed. Where a concrete corridor should have been, there was now a hotel hallway. Carpeted. Gold wall sconces. Painted floral trim. Like someone copy-pasted a normal floor into the bowels of the building. The housekeeper whispered, "This is a compiled floor, the hotel stitched it from leftover memories." Leftover memories of what? Guests, she whispered. Guests whose stories it tried to overwrite. A door beside us slowly opened. Not pushed. Not swung. Just eased open, welcomingly. Room number, 1212. But in peeling paint underneath it, hidden by fresh lacquer. 404. My pulse pounded. "No," I said. "We are not going in." "Agreed," she whispered. Doorways are the hotel's traps. Behind us, distant echoes. The attendants hum. Growing louder. She grabbed my wrist. "We keep moving." We sprinted down the stitched hallway. The carpet rippled like water under our feet. The sconces flickered. Shadows stretched unnaturally long. Then, something grabbed my ankle. A hand. Reaching through the carpet. I screamed and kicked wildly as a pale arm emerged from the floor, trying to pull me down. The housekeeper leaned down and slammed her flashlight against the wrist. The hand recoiled. The carpet sealed itself. The hand was gone. "Don't step where the patterns repeat," she said breathlessly. "That's where unfinished guests try to climb out." I wanted to vomit. The lobby that remembered me. We burst through another door. And found ourselves back in the lobby. But not the same one. This one was pristine. New. The modern lobby I'd walked through when I first arrived. Only, every person in it was staring at me. Bellhops, receptionists, guests. Even the lobby statue seemed to tilt its head. Their eyes were black voids. Their smiles too wide. They whispered in unison, 404 is waiting. The housekeeper shrieked, they're not real, this is a stored moment. But they were advancing. I grabbed her hand and ran across the lobby. The reception desk phone rang. Loud. Shrill. It rang a second time as we reached the elevators. The housekeeper froze. No, she whispered. Don't answer. The phone's third ring sounded like a scream. Against my better judgment, I grabbed it. Static. Then a voice. Marcus, they'll take her too if you don't come willingly. My blood froze. Who are you? You know, the voice whispered. Because you were me. The line cut. The elevator dinged. The doors opened to reveal me, standing inside. The oldest version. The one who led the duplicates. He smiled gently. Come home. I slammed the elevator button with a shaking finger. The next elevator opened, empty. We jumped inside. The doors closed. The housekeeper leaned against the glass, sobbing. I stared at the panel. There was no "for" button. There had never been a "for" button. But the panel flickered. And a ghost button appeared. 4. The elevator began descending on its own. Neither of us touched it. The elevator descent. The lights flickered. The elevator display read 5, 3, 2, 1. G, B, SB, 404. The elevator dinged cheerfully. The doors slid open. I braced myself for horrors. Instead, we stood in a perfect, clean, freshly renovated hallway. Bright white walls. Soft music. New carpet. Decorative plants. It looked like the newest, safest floor of the hotel. The housekeeper's face drained of all color. No. Marcus. This is the most dangerous floor. Why? It looks. This is the hotel's ideal version of itself, she whispered. The one it tries to become. The one it tries to use to replace everything else. I stepped out slowly. The air felt synthetic. Too perfect. Too controlled. There were framed paintings on the wall, beautiful landscapes, cityscapes, portraits. One portrait stopped me cold. It was a painting of me, sitting in an armchair, smiling pleasantly, holding a hotel guest book. The nameplate read, Marcus Hale, Honorary Guest. Resident of Hemlock Tower. That's not funny, I whispered. The housekeeper pulled me away from the wall. Don't touch anything here. Everything on this floor is bait. We turned a corner. Another painting. This one showed the housekeeper. Her real name printed beneath. Ana Marquez, Senior Attendant Trainee. She began. I never trained for anything here. I never. A voice echoed across the hallway. Calm. Corporate. Warm enough to be unsettling. Guests of the Hemlock Tower, welcome to your future accommodations. We turned. A man in a dark blue suit approached. Tall. Perfect posture. A dazzling smile. Hair slicked back. His eyes were deep black. He extended a hand. Mr. Hale. Ms. Marquez. I'm glad you've made it to the integration floor. Auntie, what the hell are you? I demanded. A manager, he said. The manager of versions. Anna trembled. You're not real. He laughed pleasantly. Reality is relative inside this structure. I exist because the hotel requires me to. What do you want? I asked. He gestured around. For you to accept your assigned identity. What identity? He smiled wider. Your completed one. He snapped his fingers. The hallway lights dimmed. Doors on both sides swung open. 12 figures stepped out. All the duplicates from 404. All wearing versions of my face. And behind them, more. Dozens more. The hotel had been making new versions. Perfected versions. They stood in perfect lines, like soldiers awaiting orders. The manager leaned toward me. You see? You are prolific. I'm not part of this, I choked. You already are, he said. You belong to the tower. You were chosen before you were even born. My breath hitched. That's not possible. Oh, it is, he said calmly. We've taken you before. Anna grabbed my arm. Don't listen. Marcus, don't. The manager continued. Every few years, the hotel summons a version of you. Each attempt becomes more complete. You think this is your first stay? No. This is simply the first one you remember. My knees weakened. I felt dizzy. Sick. No. No, that's... He pointed behind me. The elevator door was still open. Inside, my suitcase was there. Already packed. Scratched. Weathered. Not from this trip. From many trips. My name tag on it. Worn. Faded. As if I had been here dozens of times. Anna grabbed my shoulders. Don't let him break you. Marcus, look at me. I looked. Her eyes were terrified. Because she believed him. Because she'd seen this happen before. The manager placed a hand on my shoulder. Come now, he said gently. Let's go to your room. He pointed at the end of the hallway. To a door. A clean white plaque read. 404, final occupancy. My heart stopped. Anna screamed. Run. The door at the end of the hallway. 404, final occupancy. Waited like something alive. A clean white plaque. Polished brass numbers. A soft light haloing the frame. A door that shouldn't exist. In a hallway that shouldn't exist. On a floor the hotel insists isn't real. Yet was more complete than anything we'd seen so far. The manager's hand rested gently on my shoulder. His touch didn't feel like a human hand. It felt like a suggestion. A strong one. A silent push into a future the building had already written. Marcus, he said warmly. Your room is ready. Anna's scream echoed through the corridor. Run. Her voice snapped me out of whatever trance I'd been sinking into. I jerked away from the manager's grip. His smile didn't falter. He simply placed his hands behind his back. Like a schoolteacher giving a student time to calm down. You don't have to resist, he said pleasantly. Acceptance is easier on the mind. And the body. Marcus, move. Anna grabbed my arm and yanked. We sprinted down the corridor, away from 404. The manager didn't chase. But the duplicates did. Dozens of them. All versions of me. Young Marcus. Older Marcus. Broken Marcus. Optimistic Marcus. Failures. Possibilities. Fragments. They came running. Their footsteps perfectly synchronized. A tide of selves the hotel preferred over me. Anna pulled open the nearest door. Inside, she cried. We burst through. And the door slammed behind us. A room made of memories. We froze. The room we'd entered was a guest room. But not any guest room I'd ever seen. It was full of objects from my life. A baseball bat from when I was 8. My college laptop. The couch from my first apartment. My old blue bicycle. A picture of my mother on the mantle. The desk from my childhood bedroom. My high school jacket. My divorce papers scattered across a coffee table. Old birthday cards. My mother's handwriting on a memo. My father's watch. My heart climbed into my throat. This is my stuff, I whispered. TVs were thrown away years ago. Lost. Sold. Gone. Anna shook her head. They aren't your things, she said softly. They're the hotel's idea of your things. Reconstructions. Memory approximations. How can it do that? You forget, she whispered, the hotel has had you before. The words hit like a hammer. No, I said. No. That can't be true. She picked up a framed picture from the desk. It was me. At age 25. Standing in front of the Hemlock Tower. Smiling. You stayed here 12 years ago, she murmured. Before the accident. What accident? Her lips trembled. The one the hotel erased. I shook my head violently. No. I would remember something like that. The lights flickered overhead. Every object in the room began vibrating. The framed photo dissolved into static. The couch seams opened. The baseball bat splintered silently. The laptop cracked in half. My father's watch melted like wax. The room wasn't trying to comfort me. It was trying to rewrite me. Anna grabbed my face, forcing my eyes onto hers. Listen to me. The hotel doesn't kill people. It copies them. Stores them. Integrates them. And when it can't finish the copy, it makes another version, I whispered. She nodded, tears running down her cheeks. You were one of those unfinished versions. 12 years ago. You escaped the building before they completed you. But you never left its memory. So this trip wasn't your choice, she said. The hotel called you back to finish the job. A loud knock rattled the door. Then another. And another. 3 knocks. Even. Perfect. The duplicates. Anna covered her mouth, stifling a sob. They're here. The door begins to bend. The door handle twisted. Bent. Warped. Not like something was turning it, but like the door itself wanted to open. The wood bowed inward. A crack split the frame. They're going to come through, Anna whispered. She grabbed my wrist and pulled me deeper into the room. We have to find the exit moment. What exit moment? Every constructed room has one, she said. A moment that doesn't belong. A detail that breaks continuity. That's your way out. We searched quickly. The room was collapsing around us in slow motion. The furniture melted. The wallpaper peeled like skin. Static filled the air like snow. I pointed at the window. There. The city skyline, it's wrong. Anna ran to it. We stared. Chicago's skyline was visible, but the Sears Tower, or Willis, depending on your age, was missing. The skyline was from the year 2000. It's an older moment, she whispered. This isn't our present. She gripped the window frame. It's a portal. Help me open it. We pulled. The frame resisted. Behind us, the door finally burst open. Dozens of duplicates spilled inside like a flood of cells. All staring at me. All silent. Except the oldest one. He stepped forward. You ran again, he said. Just like last time. Get away from us. Anna yelled. He smiled sadly. You don't understand, Anna. This isn't punishment. It's restoration. Restoration of what? I shouted. He gestured to the room. Your identity. The one you've lost 1,000 times. I didn't lose anything. You lost every version of yourself this hotel ever made, he whispered. He pointed at Anna. And she lost hers. Anna froze. What? The manager appeared in the doorway, calm and collected. His voice was soft silk. Anna, my dear, you know this. Why pretend? You never applied for this job. You weren't hired. You were found. She shook her head violently. No. No. I chose to work here. I chose to. You were brought here 15 years ago, the manager said. Assigned as attendant. Conditioned. Rewritten. Reused. She stumbled backward. No, I had a family. You have their memories, he corrected. You don't have them. Her scream ripped through the room. I grabbed her before she collapsed. The duplicates closed in. The manager extended his hand. Come now, he said gently. Both of you. Room 404 is prepared for final occupancy. The window behind us cracked open an inch. Anna gasped. Marcus, it's opening. I pulled with everything I had. The duplicates rushed toward us. The oldest version reached out. Come back to yourself, Marcus. The window burst open. A blast of cold air. Light. Noise. A different hallway. A real hallway. We jumped. The duplicates lunged. Missed by inches. The manager's voice echoed behind us. This isn't over. The window slammed shut. The real hallway. We landed hard on clean carpet. Bright lights. Soft music. Normal scent of lemon and cleaners. Floor 7. The real floor 7. Anna gasped, shaking uncontrollably. We're back, Marcus, we. I hugged her tightly. We're still alive, I whispered. For now. The hallway lights dimmed. A loudspeaker crackled. Attention guests, a voice announced cheerfully. Please disregard any unauthorized individuals impersonating hotel staff. Thank you. Anna looked at me with wide, terrified eyes. They know we escaped. They're rewriting the real floors too. I swallowed. What now? Anna wiped her tears. We go to the only place the hotel fears. Where's that? She pointed down the hallway. to a metal door marked Maintenance Access, Archive Level. Her voice was hoarse. The hotel keeps every identity it's ever taken in the archive. If we destroy it, we might break its ability to replicate. Will that free the people trapped here? It will free you, she whispered. I don't know what it will do to me. We heard a ding. The elevator doors opened behind us. Empty. Waiting. A voice echoed from inside. My duplicate's voice. Marcus. Come back to finish your story. Anna grabbed my hand. Run. We sprinted toward the archive door as the lights flickered violently overhead. The hotel was coming alive. It was chasing us. And behind us, dozens of footsteps emerged. Perfectly synchronized. The duplicates were coming. The manager was coming. Room 404 was coming. We reached the archive door. Anna jammed her key into the lock. The footsteps thundered closer. Hurry! I shouted. She twisted. The lock clicked. The door swung open. We ran inside. And the world behind us vanished into darkness. The archive awaited. We slammed through the archive door and hit the stale, old air of a room that smelled like paper and metal and the memory of filing cabinets. Fluorescent lights hummed with a tired patience. The space was vast, an underbelly of the hotel that must have been intended for boilers and storage but had been converted into rows and rows of shelves, crates, cabinets, and stacks of leather-bound books. Little lamps threw pools of light, but most of the room was in shadow. Somewhere far off, water dripped with a patient, metronomic rhythm. Anna slammed the door closed behind us and hit the deadbolt. The sound of it was too small, a child's toy, given the scale of what we'd stepped into. For a second we only stood there, breathing hard, listening to the sound of our hearts. What is this place? I hissed, voice rough. She swallowed. Her face was streaked with dirt and tears. It's where they keep the originals. The copies are made from these. Names, objects, moments, everything the hotel extracts is stored here. A lamp at a nearby desk burned weakly. On it sat a ledger, old, leather, promising. The cover was stamped with a sigil I couldn't place, a tower rendered in minimalist lines, a ring of keys, and, beneath it, 3 small dots that suggested ellipsis and continuation. The pen beside it looked heavy, like something meant to be used for emphasis. Rows and rows of cabinets lined the room, drawers were labeled in looping ink, guests, 1978, staff, 1994, unassigned, cycles 3 to 7. Some drawers were open, their contents were not papers so much as impressions, thick slates of memory that hummed when we held them near our faces. Anna pulled open a drawer and a low sound, an intake like an old throat, pulled at the edges of my mind. I tasted dust and my mother's perfume. For a staggering second I thought I was standing at my childhood kitchen sink. You can't touch those, Anna said quietly. They'll read you. I stepped back. The last thing I needed was to become data in the hotel's system. We find the core, she said. We destroy what stores their patterning. Break the replication, and maybe they can't reproduce. Maybe the copies collapse. Her voice had a brittle, frantic hope to it, like someone who rehearsed a prayer until it was a plan. How do we know which is the core? I asked. The place felt like a cathedral to habit. To get into the altar felt like a suicide mission. Anna walked down an aisle labeled Systems, Internal Architecture. She pointed toward a high shelf where a large metal trunk sat locked with an old padlock. Across it, on a workbench, lay a schematic, hand-drawn, annotated pages depicting the hotel's floor plan with lines running like veins to a central chamber deep below the service floors. Someone had written, in red ink, Archive Core, Do Not Disturb. That, Anna said. That trunk is the core's backup. The core itself is below us, 3 levels down from here. It's where they compress identity into executable templates, where they compile guests into deployable packages. My throat closed. We blow it up. She looked at me with an honesty that smelled like danger. We can try. But the manager controls the infrastructure. He'll trigger everything the moment we attack the core. The hotel will reconfigure, seal exits, activate attendance, flood service levels. We'll be in the belly of the beast. I braced my hands on the edge of the workbench. So what? Go home and wait for it to take the next version? Let another Marcus be made? Her hand found mine, gripping like a promise. We can either be finished by someone else's script or we can try to break the script. We moved quietly, like burglars or animals. The archive was a forest of filing cabinets, and the deeper we walked, the more cramped it felt. The hum of the hotel seeped through the floor like a low tide. From a corridor to our left, the sound of feet approached, soft, synchronized. The attendants. Anna slid a drawer open and tore a sheet of paper loose from a stack, old graph paper, inked with notes. We read by the dim light. Coordinates. Schematics. A list of names. The manager had been meticulous. He'd cataloged everything you could possibly need to rematerialize a person, voice samples, recorded on old tape reels, fabric swatches for clothing, scent samples, handwriting rubrics. The hotel didn't rely on chance, it manufactured identity like a factory. You can't simply destroy an identity, I murmured. It's an algorithm here, not a person. She looked up. Then we make the algorithm fail. We scavenged old welding torches in a rusted tool chest, a crowbar with a curved end, a handful of workroom explosives the way they store them for demolition, small, precise charges meant for controlled use. The hotel had been careful to maintain this place. The hotel loved the archive like a library loves its last copy of something irreplaceable. We crept to the service hatch that led down. The steel door had a wheel for an old lock. Anna placed her palm on the metal for a moment and then slid the wheel. The wheel protested with noise like a groan, and the hatch opened with a breath of stale air. Stairs sloped down into a concrete shaft. "You ready?" she whispered. I swallowed and nodded. We descended. The core room. The stairway opened into a circular chamber with a ceiling like the underside of a drum. The walls were lined with racks of glass cylinders. Inside each cylinder was a form, shapes of light suspended like embryos. Each humed with a tone, a signature. Racks and racks of them. The smell was sharp with ozone and old paper and something animal. A massive machine dominated the center, a cube of metal and glass, covered in brass fittings and covens of wires. An old cathode display flickered with tenant names, Hale, Marcus, Cycle 7, Marquez, ANA, Trainee, Unassigned, Slots. A pulsating core glowed within, cycling through colors as names fed into it. When a slot engaged, a liquid inside a cylinder fastened together and a face took form like a sculptor pulling clay out of vapor. "This is the heart," Anna whispered. "This is where the hotel stands to decide who is finished." We set the charges. They looked ridiculous and brave in my hands. 3 small canisters about the size of coffee thermoses, wired with old detonators and taped to look like something pulled together out of necessity. "You sure this is right?" I asked. She bit her lip. "It might make it worse. It might free everything. It might destroy the originals. I don't know which one I can live with less." I thought of the half-formed versions at the grate. The hands pressing through. The housekeeper who sobbed because she'd had to clean people's lives like laundry. The manager who grinned like a carnival barker. And the ledger, the heavy leather book in the archive entrance, sat as a promise. We placed the charges around the core, one at the base, one at the control console, one on the main cylinder rack. Anna rummaged through her coat and pulled out something small and crumpled. It was a square of paper with a scribbled line of ink. She'd hidden it in her jacket. "What is that?" I asked. She inhaled. "A map. A failsafe." She looked at me with a fragile steadiness. "It's an old trick. If we overload the core with contradiction, define too many identities at once, the system cannot resolve. It will attempt to complete everything and then stall. It relies on selection. If selection fails, the replication collapses. So we create chaos," I said. "So the hotel trips on itself," she agreed. "We must feed it all its identities at once. Make it try to finish every file. It will choke." She slapped a final tally onto the old console, stacks of sheets, names and dates, cross-references. We booted ancient software, older than the manager's shiny logic. It was cobbled, analog routes patched to digital interfaces by someone who loved complexity. "You ready?" Anna whispered. I nodded. She keyed in a sequence. The core word, at first unaware, then attentive. Old lamps warmed. Then the cathode displays brightened, name after name unspooled. Alarms squealed. From the stairwell above, distant mechanical footsteps accelerated. The hotel noticed our tampering. The attendant gliding silhouettes converged, their featureless faces turning toward the core chamber doors. "Now," Anna said. She pressed the detonator buttons. Nothing happened. I looked at the wiring. Someone had cut a loop. The manager had anticipated saboteurs. He kept backups. He loved redundancy. "They knew someone would try this," I said. "They always did." Anna bit her lips. "Then we do the other thing." She reached into her pocket and drew out a rusted key on a leather ribbon. She told me to hold it, back in the lobby, and I'd laughed. Now she fit it into a small slot beneath the console. The key turned. A manual override. The core balked and stuttered and then accepted the input. The charges clicked. The countdown began. We had minutes, maybe less. Above us the sound of footsteps became a roar. The attendants were in motion. The manager's voice, silky but panicked now, came down over the system. "You cannot break what is necessary." He wasn't begging, he was furious. The core reached a fever pitch. Lights lanced up, glass cylinders shook. A hum became a note and then shifted into a chord. Racks of cylinders opened, releasing vapors that tasted of sea and smoke and other people's lips. "It's trying to finish them," Anna said. The cylinders brightened, faces congealing within the glass. Names burst in light across the displays. The system started attempting to assign every available identity to every available template. It was playing matchmaking with history. This is either brilliant or catastrophic, I panted. I don't know which. Both, she whispered. We braced. The attack. The door burst open and the attendants flowed in like a tide, featureless fronts and brass keys, a cacophony of movement that was somehow noiseless. The manager stepped through, his suit smudged, his smile gone ragged. You don't understand, he said, voice low. We preserve. We elevate. We gift continuity. You steal, Anna spat back. You take people and break them into code. He tilted his head. Those people asked to be remade. They came incomplete. We finished them. Not by erasing the originals. He laughed then, no humor in it. The originals are messy. We are efficiency. Hands reached for the console. The attendants tried to stop us. I shoved one away with the crowbar and it passed through like smoke, fingers grazing the crowbar but not gripping. They could phase because the hotels will made them formless. But when I shoved, the motion registered and the attendant staggered, like a ghost shoved by something corporeal. The manager lunged for Anna. I swung the crowbar at his head. It connected with a muffled thunk. He staggered back and smoothed his hair as if it meant nothing. You cannot kill a concept by hitting its eyebrows. The countdown ticked. 10. 9. 8. I shoved the crowbar into the main wiring harness, desperate. Sparks spit. A current arced across metal. The manager screamed, a sound like glass breaking from inside, and he leapt for the control console, slamming his palm to a panel. The core throbbed. It produced a low keening that sounded like an industrial wail. 3, 2, 1. The charges detonated. The explosion was not cinematic. It did not paint the room with orange romance. It was a focused, white shockwave that rearranged particles and memory. Metal bent inward like tin, glass imploded into light, and the cathode displays blossomed into static that looked for a place to land and found nowhere. For a breath, the core shuddered and then, miraculously, held. Its wiring had been redundant. The manager had prepared for precise sabotage. But somewhere in the chain we'd created a mismatch. The core tried to reconcile every file at once and began experiencing allocation failures. Racks of cylinders began to blink like misfiring synapses. Shut it down, the manager snarled. He pounded at the console. Attendants smacked the cabinet panels. The room filled with a chorus of mechanical strain, like a machine being forced to swallow. Glass racks started to crack. Cylinders burst open, releasing faces in a vapor that looked like mist but smelled like memory. They hung in the air, spectral, aghast and tiny. Faces, originals, floated free. A chorus of voices rose, names, calls, cries. Some were delighted, others were bewildered, some wept out loud. One shape that looked like me but older and human and alive floated by, blinking, and mouthed, "Help me," before dispersing into a scent, and a scent turned into a name. We locked eyes with the manager across the room. His expression had taken on the shape of someone who had been told the laws his whole life were cancellations. He wasn't human now in any useful way, he was function and habit and copy. The attendants around him began to break apart, their edges unraveling. Anna shouted, "Now! Get the ledger!" The ledger, the leather book near the desk in the archive entrance, had to be the master index. If we could remove it from the hotel's access zone, perhaps the compilers would have nothing to reference. She darted for it while I tried to hold the manager at bay. I swung the crowbar again and this time connected with something that felt solid, no, not flesh, but a fulcrum. The manager staggered and gurgled like a radio breaking. Behind him, the attendants' forms tore like fabric, edges fraying, the emptiness where faces should be spilling into the air like ash. The hotel screamed. The ledger was heavier than it looked. Anna clutched it, breath coming in pained gasps. As she stood, the leather cover opened as if to receive us. Inside the pages were columns, names, assignments, dates, signatures. Ink dried in elaborate loops. Across a page, a line had my name on it once again, though the ink looked older and oddly familiar. Under it, a stamp read, Cycle 7, Release. A blank box awaited a new signature. I looked up. The manager had recovered. He pointed at Anna with a finger accusatory and said, neatly, as if reading from a script, "You cannot remove the ledger. It binds the structure." She smiled, a savage, resolute thing, and held the ledger to her chest. Then she made a decision that wrecked my breath with its clarity. She ran. She ran straight for the stairwell where we'd come down, ledger clutched. The attendants surged after her like dark moths, the manager cursing at the top of his voice. I followed, crowbar high, smashing statues and consoles and any piece of hotel equipment in my way. We reached the stairs, the door, the wheel. Anna jammed the ledger through the crack between the metal and the jamb and pushed with everything she had. Screams roared below. The ledger slipped, wedged. She slammed the wheel. The hatch closed. We threw our weight into the bolting mechanism and the stairs bucked and shook, but the mechanism held for the fraction of a second that mattered. A final cry echoed through the shaft, the core's pitch turned into a ravening howl. Then silence. The footsteps, the manager's voice, the attendant's presence, all thinned like steam. We held the leverage until the railing around our shoulders ached. When the need to breathe returned to us, the world beyond the hatch felt different. The humming core slowed. Cylinders collapsed like soap bubbles. Faces dissolved into light and scattered. The ledger, wedged in the broken rails, flickered like a trapped moth. For the first time since I'd stepped foot in Hemlock Tower, the hotel sounded ordinary, the drip of water, a distant vent, the static of an old speaker. We collapsed against the concrete in a pool of shaking relief. Anna's hands were cut and raw. My knuckles bled where the crowbar had bitten me. For a moment we said nothing, only breathed the same poisoned air. What did we do? I asked at last. She looked at me, eyes wide, and then smiled, small, feral, real. We broke its allocation. It can't finish the cycle right now. It will try to recompile later, but it will be weaker. It lost a lot. Behind us, far below, a weak alarm began to wail, an institutional sob. The manager's voice came faintly through the stairwell as if transmitted from a long, cruel distance. "You will restore, restore," he chanted. The hotel's software attempted to reconcile, but the ledger wedged in the hatch prevented it from fully reconnecting to the physical index. We labored up the stairs like survivors. On the surface level we saw what we had done, cabinets ajar, files half-pulled, cylinders shattered into glittering motes. Original people, some coherent, some stunned, some blinking like fish out of water, staggered into the aisles. One woman in a business suit stared at Anna and whispered, "You saved me." We moved through the rooms. Some people we found were not us. A woman who had been catalogued as unassigned reached for the ledger's binding and kissed it, over and over. A boy who looked like my grade school friend sat on a cabinet and quietly pulled at his hair, not understanding why he remembered both home and a ceramic sculpture of a tower. The manager, however, did not give up. His influence flickered but did not die. He prowled like a wounded beast through the remaining corridors, his attendance reduced to tremors of static. He tried to make new copies with the shards left in racks, but each attempt produced defective results: faces without depth, voices that trembled, templates that collapsed mid-formation. The hotel had not known how to adapt to chaos. It had loved certainty, aftermath, and escape. We stole through the service corridors like thieves. At the elevator we paused. The lobby above had already started to rearrange in small ways, a chandelier tilting slightly, a guest receptionist pausing mid-sentence before finishing a greeting. The world was reconfiguring as if putty. We took the first elevator up, hands shaking, skin cold. The doors opened on the ground level lobby and we stepped into a scene that felt so ordinary it made me dizzy: bellmen carrying luggage, a couple photographing themselves beneath the chandelier, a concierge smiling at a guest. Ordinary, except for the ledger's presence. Wedged into our stairwell had sufficient anomalous code that parts of the hotel couldn't access certain indices. The hotel was wounded and had to heal. We didn't wait to see how fast it could stitch itself back together. We ran out of Hemlock Tower, into the courtyard, and to my car. I remember keys fumbling, Anna throwing herself into the passenger seat, my hands unsteady on the wheel. We drove out without headlights, the city swallowing us in its indifferent light. We drove far. We stopped at a diner and ate cold eggs and coffee. We talked in fits and starts, trying to make meaning of chaos. We sat until daylight made the city concrete and unkind, and the world around us turned to business as usual. At some point I asked Anna the thing I needed to hear and feared at once. Do you think we freed everyone? The originals? The people in the cylinders, did they get their lives back? She stirred her coffee and watched cream bloom like small storm systems. Some did, she said. Some are confused. Some have things missing. They'll find their way. But the hotel will try to rebuild. I felt an ache, not for us, but for the innumerable people who might always be footnotes in a building's appetite. And you? I asked. Anna, are you? She laughed once, a quick wet sound. I don't know, she said. But I remember my mother's voice now, the way she hummed while washing dishes. Before, I only had a job. Now I have that. I don't know if I was remade or if I was always that person partially erased. Maybe there's no clean answer. We sat in silence, then drove farther, toward the sea. The ledger, the manager, and the last signature. We thought we'd put the ledger out of circulation. But the hotel is a system that heals in crafty ways. That night, back at the motel where we finally slept, 2 separate rooms, both unlocked, both filthy, we roused at some hour to notifications. My phone buzzed with an email from a hotel management system I'd never heard of. The subject line read, Guest Ledger Update, Hemlock Tower. Attached was a PDF of a single page, an entry that had somehow propagated across the hotel's remaining network nodes. A name listed, a date, and a signature line filled in neat scrawl. Someone, or something, had pulled the ledger free and signed the final box. I opened the PDF with trembling hands. It read, Name, Hale, Marcus. Assigned identity, resident stay. Cycle, completed. Signed, M. Hale. My stomach dropped. I scrolled further. Beneath my name was another line. Clinician, Marquez, Ana, witness. And another line, stamped with an institutional seal I recognized from the manager's office, archive, partial restore. I shut the phone with a slap and stared at my hands. You signed it? Ana asked, voice small, coming into the doorway with a cigarette she'd apparently just lit. I started. She held up the ledger, a small reprint like a receipt, tucked in her jacket. Yes, she said. When they were trying to rebuild, the manager's code included a failsafe. If a subject refuses to be integrated, their signature in the ledger collapses the process. They called it a consent anchor. I signed it to stop them from finishing me. But when the ledger tried to reconcile all the changes, it found my signature already present and used it to write in your name. You did what? I whispered. She looked at me with a tired humor that broke my heart. I signed because I thought it would protect me. The manager used the sign as proof of consent to finish operations. It was clever. The hotel is better at reading ways out than we are. I felt the old dread creep back. We had cut the core, but not all of its vines. We had purchased immediate freedom with a late debt. What does that mean? I asked. It means, she said slowly, that the hotel will try again. Maybe not today. Maybe in a year. But every system heals. And every wound becomes a scar. I slammed my fist on the table, anger like a hot weight. So we run forever? Ana looked at me with tired eyes. We do what we can. We stayed up far into the night and planned the only reasonable thing, obfuscation. Change names, move, scatter. Warn people away from Hemlock Tower if we could. We emailed every authority we thought would listen, most would not, because you cannot explain the hungry angles of a building to a bureaucrat without sounding like a madman. The final image. Months passed. The Hemlock Tower reopened. It repainted its lobbies, replaced chandeliers, rehired staff. They posted new signs, polished their brass, and marketed a reimagined guest experience. Some victims returned to petitions, some filed claims. The hotel settled quietly. It replaced its core racks. It implemented new redundancies. But there are always scars that no touch-up can cover. One evening much later, on a cusp of a different life, I walked by Hemlock Tower because you cannot resist the lure of a thing you have wrestled with. From across the street a bellman wheeled a cart toward the entrance, humming a tune that was too sweet. A guest leaving the hotel brushed past me. He smiled in that corporate way. He wore a tie and a name tag. I looked down. His badge read, Marcus Hale. VIP, residency. My stomach dropped. The man kept walking. He looked nothing like me. He had a different face, a different gait, a different life. But the name had been printed and the hotel sent it into the world like an invitation. And right then I understood in a small, precise way the real cruelty of the Hemlock Tower. The hotel does not simply make copies of people, it launders names out into the world until they mean nothing more than ink on a card. Your name becomes a commodity the building can recycle. People with your name could be anyone. And the original you, if you were lucky enough to escape, carries the memory of what was almost taken. I turned away, feeling the weight of all the things we had lost and all the things we had saved. Ana came up beside me, cigarette stub going cold in her fingers. She flicked it away and said, quietly, we did what we could. I nodded. She looked down at the street, then back at the hotel, and then at me. Do you want to keep wandering, she asked, or do you want to try to stop them for good? My mouth went dry. The wind smelled like rain. For good? I repeated. For good, she said. We stared at each other, two people who had been stitched together and pulled apart and sewn some strange, new way. The hotel's lights flared and dimmed. Its doors opened and closed, a mouth breathing in and out. Someday sooner or later it would call for another name. We might be there when it did. Or we might not. But neither of us could pretend that walking away erased anything. We had been catalogued. We had been given scars. We had been set loose into the world with knowledge like a splinter under the skin. What you can do with knowledge is up to you. You can let it rot you from the inside. Or you can use it. Anna exhaled and smiled with a small, feral grin. Anywhere you want to go first? She asked. I looked at the tower one last time and said, no. Let's start at the beginning. Tell me about your mother. She laughed, a real laugh that wasn't laced with fear for the first time in weeks. As she talked, I felt like a person again, someone who could sit and listen and not just watch all the doors around him move. On the way to the diner, we passed a delivery cart loaded with a stack of hotel guest books. The top one had the nameplate on the spine polished bright. A bellman wheeled the cart inside. I watched him go. The guest book's first entry, an inked line in a new, neat hand, was already beginning to bleed into the next page. Somewhere inside the hotel, a ledger waited. Somewhere, the manager sharpened his smile and made new lists. We were not naive. We had beaten the machine by making it choke on its own appetite. It would learn. But the ledger in the archive had a crack in its binding now. Not just physical, but procedural. The hotel's methods would require reinvention. The manager could rebuild the index, could find ways around our subversion. Yet we had at least purchased time and broken the illusion of invincibility. Time, as much as anything, is a weapon. We drove away from the tower into a night that smelled like rain. I thought of the faces we'd seen in the archive, the originals, some of whom would never be whole in the way they had been. I thought of the ledger, the signatures, the loop that seemed to be a law of the hotel. I thought of names like things that could be written and rewritten and, for a while, stolen. Marcus, Anna said softly, when you hear a hotel bell next time, listen. Names are being called. I kept my eyes on the road, but I listened anyway. Have a nice day. Thank you for watching.